Hey everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to do my first half of November wrap up. So as you can tell, we've been hit by the crud, and it is at least an annual thing that I get laryngitis. And so on Saturday I was sick, and we got sick maybe Friday. Saturday I wasn't feeling that great, and so I was like, well, I'm not going to film. I'm going to wait till tomorrow. Well, Saturday evening I started losing my voice, and by Sunday I had nothing. So you guys know that I really only have the opportunity to film on the weekends, and so definitely a lesson learned in procrastination. Should have just done it Saturday, but here we are. I am actually sneaking this in. We've all kind of had the crud, except for, knock on wood, my husband and my baby. But me and the other two girls have had the crud, and so everybody's moving a little slower this morning. So I'm able to sneak this in with the voice that I have. So all that to say, I'm going to try to make this a little bit quicker than average, just so my voice doesn't go out. But let's just get into it. If you have not seen one of these videos, I'm going to give you some stats for the first half of the month and then go through the books. I've got them separated into middle grades that I read with my kids and then the rest of the books that I read for myself. And I will have it timestamped down below if you only want to hear a certain part. So in the first half of November, I read 9 books. And these stats only include the books that I read for myself. So I read 9 books. That's 2,721 pages, or 181 pages per day. 302 is the average page length per book. So that means I read about 0.6 books a day, which feels really good. It's definitely declined from October, which I don't know what happened at the end of October. I was just a reading machine. So I read 9 novels. They're all novels. They were all adult. So 5 were from my shelf and 4 were from somewhere else, which feels good because my goal was always 50% off my shelf. And so that feels good. I don't read them. Even if I have a physical copy, I will often seek out a digital copy, either ebook or audiobook, because my physical reading time is not very high. And when I am physically reading, I'm generally doing it with my kids or after they're in bed, which then I don't have a lot of energy. So, I read 5 from Libby, 1 from Hoopla, 1 from Kindle, 1 from NetGalley, and 1 on my shelf. So aside from the Kindle book that I had purchased at some point, these were all free resources, which is great. I read 7 on audio, 1 paperback, and 1 ebook. 3 were new releases and 6 were backlists. So then as far as genre goes, I read 4 nonfiction because it is nonfiction November, 1 Christian fiction, 1 historical, 1 romance, 1 mystery thriller, and 1 women's fiction. So all my favorites, really well distributed. However, the star ratings were 2 2.5 stars, 3 3 stars, 3 4 stars, and 1 5 star. So the average was 3.44, which is a little less than normal, and a little less than what I would like, but I would still say it's an okay reading month. I've just been a little bleh, so we'll see. So let's just get into the books. The first stack is going to be the middle grades that I read with my kids. So we read The Secret Explorers and the Lost Whales. This is the first in the Secret Explorer series. So they've got this little machine, and each kid, there's a bunch of different kids in the Secret Explorers Club, and each kid has a different expertise. And so 2 of them are called upon a mission. There's whales that are migrating incorrectly. And so these 2, one is, he's the marine expert, she's the space expert, so she's not sure why she's called on this, but they work together to help guide the whales where they need to be. This was a fun start of a series, and my kids and I have kind of fallen down a rabbit hole of humpback whales, and my oldest daughter, she had asked, can we have like an animal of the week? And so we haven't been doing it weekly, but we have been having, like she first really wanted to learn about chameleons because she was really interesting, and now we're learning about humpback whales because their migration is interesting. So there's that. Next, a series that you guys know I've talked about a lot. We love it. The Critter Club. These ones, my daughter could very easily read independently, but we read them together because I enjoy them so much. So we've got Ellie, the Flower Girl, Liz's Night at the Museum, and Marion and the Secret Letter. These are like 14, 15, 16, something like that. So I think there's 26 books in the series, and we love it. Next is Leroy Ninker Saddles Up, as well as Franklin Endacott and the Third Key, and Where Are You Going, Baby Lincoln? So these are all by DiCamillo, and she has written a series called Mercy Watson. And Mercy Watson is a pig, a domesticated pig, who lives on Deckawoo Drive. And so these are other characters within the Mercy Watson world. And the series is called The Tales of Deckawoo Drive. And again, we love this series. We really love Mercy Watson. It was Elizabeth from Lizzie Faye Love Books that sent my kids a Mercy Watson book years ago, and hooked us on the series, and so we love these Tales from Deckawoo Drive. Now we have Dory Fantasmagory, Dory Black Sheep. Dory Fantasmagory is a girl with a big imagination. She's in like first grade or something, but she's got two really mean older siblings, and Dory herself is kind of naughty, and this is going to be the last book that we read in this series, just because I don't like having to constantly stop and talk about the behavior that they're seeing. So yeah, there's that. Next is Isla of Adventure, Deep in the Rainforest. So Isla of Adventure is another book series that my daughter could read independently. It's about a little girl who can talk to animals, and she lives on the Isla of Adventure. So she has different, they think they see something really scary in the forest, but it turns out to be okay. But they figure out the mystery, and it's really fun. Next is the Magic Animal Rescue. So this is Maggie. She finds this little tiny horse butterfly combo, and she's trying to figure out what it is and how to save it. And because she kind of hurts it inadvertently because it's so small, and so she has to find it help. And this one is the start of a series and didn't really catch me, so I don't know if we'll continue or not. Then we have The Haunted Library, and this is The Ghost in the Attic. This is, I think, number 2, or maybe this is the first one, I can't remember, by Dory Hillstad Butler. And this is a really fun series. We follow a ghost who he is separated from his family, and he gets put in this library, and he's trying to find his family, but he makes friends with this little girl, and it's really fun. It's a fun series to start. Next is Jasmine Green rescues a duckling called Button. So this is the second in a series about this little girl named Jasmine Green. She lives on a farm. Her mom is a vet. Her dad's a farmer. And in the first one, she rescued a little pig. And now the pig is like domesticated, kind of like her little dog. And they rescue a duck egg after a dog attack, and they incubate these eggs and then see what happens, I guess. And I love this little girl and how she's taking care of the animals. And again, we're learning a lot, but these are also really engaging stories. And then last is She Persisted, Oprah Winfrey. She Persisted is a series of picture books and now chapter books about different women in history. And it is kind of spearheaded by Chelsea Clinton, but each book has a different author. This one is Renee Watson. I'm sorry. And this is a very brief history of Oprah's life. Now, this one, I honestly, there are maybe like 30 minutes on audio, and that's how we listen to this. And I don't think this was appropriate for my children. They talk about a lot of the really hard things that Oprah went through, but they talk about it so briefly that it definitely needs more conversation. And but they're conversations that I'm not ready to have with a 5, 3, and 1-year-old. So yeah, this was interesting, but it touches so briefly. It is so short that I was a little confused about who the audience would be. So that is all the middle grade. Now on to the adults that I read for myself. And again, I'm going to be kind of brief about these because one of my voice, and two, I have talked about most of these in my Historathon vlogs. So in the month of November, I set out a November TBR that followed the prompts from Historathon. And not all of these are historical, but they all follow the prompts. And so I have a series of 3 vlogs telling you more about these books. So I'll just kind of be brief. But we have How to Find Love in a Bookshop by Veronica Henry. This is a book revolving around a bookshop. This gal inherits it from her dad, and all the different people that come in the bookstore and their different stories. Now, I listened to this on audio, and I don't think that's the way to do this. I found myself having a really hard time engaging and keeping everybody like straight and really caring. So I'm going to keep this book and try to read it again physically, but it was not a great audio experience. Next is Bomb Shelter. Love, Time, and Other Explosives. And this one is about a woman's experience. She is an anxiety sufferer, and one night her teenage son has his first seizure. And so it's her navigating that experience and realizing you never know what you don't know. You know, you never know what's coming. So you can live in fear, you can live in anxiety, or you can choose to live in hope and optimism. And she is an anxious optimist, which is no truer words have ever been spoken about me. I feel very seen because I have a lot of anxiety, but I'm also optimistic. Logically, I'm really optimistic. And so kind of balancing those two things. And I really enjoyed this book. Next, I read The Woman in Me by Britney Spears, and you guys, 5 stars. I loved this book. Now, I was a tween in the early 2000s when Britney was super popular, and I have loved Justin Timberlake since he was 17 or whatever, and I was 10 or whatever he was. I don't know. But I have loved him. I've loved them. And I was a hardcore fan of the whole situation. And so now, this book is juicy. It talks about a lot of things, but it also just made my heart break for her and made me see her so differently, honestly, because, she has been through some stuff, and her motherhood has been threatened. Her personhood has been threatened. And you guys, we can sit here and say, Britney's gone crazy, all these things, what a train wreck, all these things that have been said about her. But you guys, if somebody took away my children like that and took away my rights to choose my food, to choose anything, I would probably go a little crazy, especially if they took my children from me. And okay, so this is very juicy, and I would say, I don't know if it's all true. I don't think it matters. What matters is she was telling her truth, and it's very conversational, and I'm proud of her for doing it, as well as just amazed at what all has happened. And this definitely highlights a broken system. If her father, who is an alcoholic and has all these other things going on, if he can own her and choose everything for her, something's wrong. I have no doubt that there's mental health things going on that we don't know about. But this is a broken, crazy system and needs to be addressed. So I'm really thankful I read it. Next is Not That My Sister by Marion Kumaro. This is about 2 sisters. One's 17 and one's 4, and they are sent to the concentration camps in World War II, and they're separated, and the one is sent to the adult one, the other one's sent to a child one, and they're trying to get back to each other. The adult, the 17-year-old, she had a really hard experience, and it's very short. It reads very, very quickly. It's less than 250 pages, and I feel like we really needed a little bit more to feel the connection between the sisters, to see it a little bit more before all of that. So this was really good. It just didn't quite hit the emotional punch that I thought it would. Next is Snow Place Like Home by Lacey Baker. So this is an arc that I had. It is a Christian fiction about high school lovers reunited. And I love that trope. First love, second chance. You guys know I love it. But this one did almost nothing for me. So this one, I almost, I'm filming this maybe 2 weeks after I read it, and I'm having a hard time recalling details. It is about this woman. She goes back. She thinks she has a Christmas curse. A lot of bad things have happened to her around the holidays. And she has to work with her ex, who is now, or her high school sweetheart, who is now a widower, and it's a second chance romance. But it was very flat, very meh for me. Next is Enemies of the Heart, Breaking Free from the 4 Emotions That Control You by Andy Stanley. This one is a convicting one. It is about the 4 emotions that he thinks are the most harmful, and they are anger, greed, shame, guilt, and goodness gracious, I can't remember the 4th, but anyway, it was just an interesting look. It is very kind of harsh, but and he acknowledges that it's kind of harsh, and he's saying there's really no behavioral problems, there's just heart problems. And I really he gives a lot of practical advice about how to help your kids engage with their own heart and check their own heart. And so I enjoyed that one quite a bit. Next is No Time to Panic, and this is by Matt Gutman. It's how I curbed my anxiety and conquered a lifetime of panic attacks. Matt Gutman is a ABC News reporter. I didn't know that. I didn't know who he was. I don't watch the news, and if I do, it's not ABC. And so I didn't know anything about him, but he has suffered from anxiety and panic attacks for his entire life, and these are all the things. So he talks about some of the physiology behind it, and then all the things he tried to fix it. And some of the things he did are so outlandish that they're not accessible to your average person. And so that felt like a little bit like, why are you telling me this? He does kind of come around and talk about some coping strategies that are a little more relatable, but he also talks about an evolutionary perspective as truth in a way that I don't necessarily agree with. So there were some things I liked about this, but it's so over the top that I don't know. It was just all right. Next is Second Chance on Cypress Lane by Reese Ryan, another romance. And this is why I'm just not loving romance lately, is because I read this one, I would say a week and a half ago maybe, and I don't remember very much of it. It's a second chance romance about Dakota. She's a news reporter, and she wrecks her career. Well, her career is wrecked because of her engagement in an affair that she was innocent about, but it's just all very dramatic. So she goes back home, and Dexter is the guy who kind of broke her heart. He is really still pining for her. They're in their 30s and still really pining for each other 17 years after their first love, and I had a hard time kind of buying into that, but anyway, he just pursues her, and this was fine. It actually 2.5 stars for me. I didn't love it, but there's that. And then last is The Woman with the Blue Star by Pam Jenoff. I really enjoyed this book. It's set in Poland during World War II, and it is about a Jewish girl who is forced to go live in the sewer with her family, and then a Polish girl who sees her from the top, and the unlikely friendship that forms, and just the camaraderie and the willingness to stake their lives for each other. And this has a twist that I've seen before, but I still enjoyed it, and I just really enjoyed this story. So that is everything I read in the first half of November. I feel like I'm being cut off by the whole vocal cords here, so I'm going to let you guys go. If you've read any of these, let me know, and I will have all those other vlogs linked down below if you want more of my thoughts. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.